Welcome to the 7th episode of the Blue Collar Baddies podcast. This episode is sponsored by Tarrant County's Central Labor Council. Today we have Angi. I don't actually know what your title is.
So my title is Political Director for the Tarrant County AFL-CIO. AFL-CIO is the Federation of Local Unions. Everyone kind of bands together, and we're the political / support team / training team.
Nice.
That helps all of the locals in the area, whether they're regional, state level, or national.
Cool. Okay, so you just find and put them where they belong.
Yeah, they come affiliate with us, and we listen to what kind of issues they're having, what they need help with, whether it's outreach for apprenticeship programs, or they're looking for some sort of specialized training, or there's a political issue coming down the pipeline that might hurt workers, and then we work on those issues.
Gotcha. That's awesome. So how did you end up here?
So originally I was doing the old pull yourself up by the bootstraps, college and work in an airport in Houston. And it was horrible. Yeah. As it usually is. Workplaces are not fun places.
Right.
We had an opportunity where an organizer approached me. I became their apprentice.
Oh.
Yeah. Organized my workplace, learned how to organize. I was pulled out to SALT to go undercover for other companies to begin the organizing process in those areas.
Yeah.
And then I came up to DFW with UAW, and then the Texas State Fed. And finally, here, my comfy home at Tarrant County.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, things they never tell you about, right?
Yeah.
Organizing is a thing.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like you love it, though.
I do. I get to talk to people from all walks of life.
Yeah.
Our issues are mainly the same, respect in the workplace, whether you're getting paid a living wage, what kind of benefits you're getting, whether you're able to feed your kids at home.
Nice.
Those issues, those key issues hit all of us working class folks.
Yeah.
We know what it is. We know rent keeps getting higher, groceries keep getting higher,
Right.
And bottom line is, our wages need to go up. Yeah. They've been stagnant since, the 70s. We're not making what we're supposed to be making.
Right.
So...
You're there.
Yeah, it's a passionate job, you know?
That's awesome. What did you originally think you were going to, what'd you go to school for?
So my degree is actually in biotechnology.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I was working on stuff in clean labs.
Okay.
One of the big ones that I was really interested in was in hydroponics.
Oh, yeah.
So we had this whole setup. And this company was getting ready to come to the Woodlands. We were going to, it was going to be a startup. We had aquaponic ponds set up so that we could create biodiesel, basically.
Okay.
So it was a whole system set up. And then Exxon decided to move to the Woodlands, and they took over everything and ruined everything. Their whole company came down, all their subsidiaries, and they just... smashed the startup that I was going to go work for.
Dang, that sucks.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Huh, that's wild. What about when you were little? What did you think you wanted to be?
I thought I was going to be a veterinarian.
Aw,
yeah,
Yeah.
Hoarding animals, you know.
That seems to be a popular answer for girls in the trade.
Yeah,
that's cool.
I don't know. It's funny.
What do you think is the biggest struggle you've faced so far, being that it's mostly male-dominated?
Yeah, so even on our side of things, it can be a little bit difficult as organizers.
Right.
When I was just organizing, that area a lot of the time was male-dominated.
Yeah.
Moving into a more political role, now... you see it's not as frequent, luckily, because we are in the labor movement, so a lot of people get talked to about stuff like that.
Yeah.
But you still go into rooms and you'll have some really, really unhappy men.
Just because you're there.
just because you're there.
Yeah.
As soon as I open my mouth, like it looks like their eyeballs are about to pop out like different directions. They're shaking.
Oh my gosh.
You know, and I'm like, cool.
That's wild.
You know, or like getting to know new people, and like they're like, we're businessmen, we're you know, doing the whole like bros code type deal, and I'm like,
get over yourself.
and then like it takes a little while. Like I'm lucky I have like my boss who like will play that role a little bit, and then like push me into them and be like, nice. You know, and be like, this is actually who you need to talk to,
right? Yeah.
And then like that usually breaks down some of the walls because they're like, oh, she knows what she's doing. I'm like,
that's awesome.
Obviously.
Joey kind of does that. My boyfriend that I work for, he kind of does that on the job site. We'll show up and a customer will be like, oh, are you the little helper today? And he's like, actually, she's the boss.
Exactly.
I'm not.
But it helps because then they don't, like, I think I've seen like a whole thing where women changed like their email signatures, like in non-front facing jobs, to men's names. Yeah. And they got questioned less. The work proceeded faster.
I bet. I believe it.
Yeah. And like it's just something that we still have to get over. Yeah. Like
which
overarching.
Because like come on.
It's not as bad in labor. I will say that. Yeah. It's not as bad.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's still there.
Yeah. What about issues with other women around?
I'd probably say the biggest issue is there's not enough of us.
I like that. That's a good answer.
Yeah, like we've been hanging out here today, you know, like everyone's like just like, oh, you're over at this trade. Oh, you're over at that one. That's awesome. And like in the other room right now there's probably like 30 dudes all in the trade together just cutting it. You know, we're like there's like nothing, you know. Yeah. Just to be able to find the other women in these trades, we have to put on events. We have to put on conventions. We have to, like, intentionally search for them. You
don't just run across them.
Yeah, you can chunk a rock, and you're like, oh, God, I just hit an electrician man, you know? Yeah. Or I just hit a plumber dude, you know? You're like, where are the ladies? Yeah. I don't know how to fix that either. Like, things like this help, you know, spotlighting, just trying to find different ways to get the women more involved. Yeah. And then, like, in places like here where mostly it's delegates, you know, the locals assign who comes here. Oh, yeah. So, like, those conversations are had where we're like, well, do you have any women? Do you have any minorities? Do you have anyone, you know, like some other folks who may want to be involved? Yeah. You know, like...
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think also for the women, a lot of them either don't think about it or don't think they're capable. And I feel like that's kind of why the podcast is a thing, because I want girls to know, like, hey, this is a lot of fun and you can do it. Yeah.
And I think I was telling her, I was like, my niece knows how to weld, you know, like,
that's awesome.
It's becoming...
You should have brought her.
Right? She's all waiting in Houston.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. But, it's becoming more, like, I took wood shop in school, you know, like, I loved it. I still love to build. Like, if you want to see me in my, like, my mode, I'll have, like, a movie or a cartoon on the TV, and I'm sitting there, like, tinkering, building something on the side, and I'm like, I'm good.
That's awesome. That's your zone, huh?
Yeah, I'm zone. Cool. Give me a project, and I'll be, like, working on it.
Yeah, that's cool. So, I mean, that brings the question, if you were to switch into a different trade, what do you think it would have been?
If I were to go for a trade, I would probably go for the electricians, just because it's, like, techier, right, you know, like, a little more precise. Yeah. A lot of the other trades kind of scare me, because that works, like, really hard. Yeah. Like, the iron workers, they're up, like, I can't do heights. I look at a, like, a ladder, and I want to throw up. You know? I'm like, no heights for me. Yeah. And, like, a lot of these trades are, like, really hardcore. And I already know, like, my local would never let me behind big machinery. Never.
That's funny.
They're like, we've seen what you do in your little car. There's no way on earth you're driving something this big.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. So probably electricians. Yeah. You know, cool. Something simple.
Nice. Are there any embarrassing job site stories, or, like, just stories around that you want to share?
Well, I've seen plenty of, like, difficult things that are happening on job sites. Yeah. So one of the places that I salted at, they were taking the AC units out of, like, the ramp cars that are on, like, tarmacs.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. And just taking out the driver's side, you know. The drivers can't have any AC inside there. And, like, I know people there were, like, burning their scalps and
oh my gosh,
passing out due to heat exhaustion. Dang. Let alone, like, the distance to go to bathrooms, the weights that they had to, like, pull and carry. I'm like,
wow.
Yeah.
That's wild.
There's a lot of things that happen on these job sites that shouldn't happen on them.
Yeah.
And I think that learning about them is important, because if we don't hear about it, we don't learn about it, we don't make it an issue, it's not going to get fixed.
Right, yeah.
I couldn't say too much on embarrassing ones. I know as an organizer, we run across a lot of interesting trips. So, like, you do door to door. I've worked for places who have, like, high security projects where you knock on a door, you get guns drawn on you. Yikes. You show up and, like I was telling you earlier, it's like the person you're looking for is out working on their tractor and nothing but boots and boxers. You know?
Gosh.
It's like randomness, and I think that's part of, like, what's great about organizing too, because you see people in their home life, in their real life, not just their projection of work life professionability.
Yeah.
And it definitely breaks down some walls, you know. You can get straight to the real conversation when you're nothing but your boxers.
Yeah. Like, let me finish this up real fast.
Exactly. But, like, it was great. Like, I would get invited into people's homes. You know, we talk about, like, holidays coming up, like, what works and what doesn't work.
Nice.
It's great. It's just amazing stories that come from it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, so since you talk to a lot of tradespeople about their issues, have you come across anyone that has trouble finding work clothes for women?
I hear that a lot. I do hear that a lot.
Like it's a big deal.
Well, we have that issue with labor a lot anyways, too, because, like, even in, like my local over here, like, you don't get women's shirts. Or my favorite is they all have skulls or crossbones and, like, big eagles screeching, you know, and I'm like,
that's funny.
Yikes. Thorns everywhere.
That's wild.
I'm like, that's cool. I was like, so what do y'all got for the women in your trade? Are they wearing that too? Or the big boxy man shirts. I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
I think we're slowly breaking that down a little bit. We're seeing more, like, women's gear.
Yeah, boots and...
things PPE. That fit. PPE is important.
Yeah.
Stuff that's sized towards women.
Right.
Smaller hands, you know, gloves.
Yeah.
But... And outside the local, we're starting to see more of it.
Yeah.
And not all of it's pastel pink either.
Right.
So that's a plus.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be girly. It just needs to fit.
Like, I love pink.
Yeah, same.
But
obviously.
But it doesn't, not everything we own needs to be pink.
Yeah, for sure. If you had advice for someone who wants to do what you're doing right now, what would you tell her?
Well, first, let's see. First, you got to work on yourself. You gotta make sure you pull some of those planks out of your eye. You know, open your worldview a little bit. Make sure you're enveloped in a very diverse culture. You know, like surroundings. You're learning things from multiple different perspectives.
Right.
I
mean, you definitely have to have compassion to do your job. Otherwise, you can't help them.
Exactly. It's not a 9 to 5. It's not you just get to turn off your phone. Like, I get phone calls at 10 o'clock at night. Dang. While I was organizing, it never ends. Yeah. And just because, that's probably one of the biggest things is that, like, it doesn't end. Right. Like, every fight is the biggest fight that you're gonna have, you know, and then you come up to the next one and it's just like, hey, look, the boss got bigger. You know, it's literally like playing a video game. You have to keep leveling up, and you go after the next bigger boss. There's not a lot of easy wins. which means you have to also know how to take care of yourself.
Right. Yeah.
You've got to know how to build coalitions, how to create friendships, how to spread that work around, how to bring other people into the movement.
Yeah.
Because without that, you're going to fizzle out fast.
Yeah, I bet.
Like, it's a thing. Like, people burn out so quick because they go so quick into it without being prepared to build all the background stuff to it.
Yeah.
And without a strong foundation, you're going to crumble.
Well, and I feel like fizzling out mentally is so much rougher than just being physically exhausted. Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
And depending on what kind of work you're doing, you can get hit with both of them.
Yeah, for sure.
I know when I first came up to DFW, my team lead had me out from like 3:30 in the morning to 7 a.m.
Oh gosh.
And then 8 to 10 was my break. And then I'd have to be back out from like 12 to 2. And then I'd have like a 2-hour break. And then I was out from like 4 to 6.
Golly.
And I was like...
So basically you're working all day because you can't do anything in 2 hours.
No, it was literally like sleeping in my car, like in between shifts.
Oh my gosh.
Like,
that's horrible.
And like the burnout and the stress is just like...
Yeah.
Here, so much better. I'm like...
Yeah.
It's been a joke of like how they would get me out of this place. So I was like... You would have to drag me out, you know? I was like, my boss lets me make my hours as long as everything's done.
Right.
I get to, like, choose my projects for the most part. I'm like...
That's awesome. To have a job that you love and you love doing and works well with what... I mean, that's rare.
Yes. And I'm like, it's so different.
Yeah.
So different.
Well, having a company that cares about you, too. I mean, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
So, any big future plans for where you're at right now?
I mean, yeah, like I went back to college. So I'm actually graduating in March with my bachelor's in political science this time. Okay. Nice. And not biotech.
Yeah.
Totally different.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was basically starting from scratch.
Right. Yeah.
Because the sheer number of science load classes versus like lit classes were completely reversed.
Yeah. That's wild.
Yeah, they were like, here's 100 some odd credits that don't apply to your degree whatsoever. I'm like,
dang.
Great.
Thanks a lot.
Fantastic. And then like there's like talk of our labor councils merging into a larger one, which hopefully I get to be a part of that project. Yeah. It would be like the next step up.
Nice.
So I'm excited about that opportunity as well.
That's cool. Yeah. Can you think of anything else that would be helpful to...
Yeah. So if you want to get into an apprenticeship program...
Oh, yeah.
You can always go to the AFL-CIO.org that has all the lists for the national trades. Nice. If you're in the DFW area, you can easily go to our website. We have all the local apprenticeship programs, their information, what website to go to, phone number to call, starting wages, all that stuff on there.
We'll have that linked in the description too.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
We'll put that on there.
Nice. All right, well, thank you for being here.
Of course.
And thank you for organizing. I'm glad it turned out and you did it really fast. I mean, you got it together so quick.
I mean, you hit up an organizer.
Love it. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed it, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss the next one. All the links and products we mentioned today will be listed in the description. If you're a woman in a blue-collar industry and you're interested in being the focus of the next episode, or you're a small business that would like to sponsor an episode, reach out to us in the link below.